If you just got liquidated, believe me, I know this feeling. So what's now? What's now for you and for crypto market? Bitcoin just got wrecked and most people have no clue what's coming next. This isn't just a dip. Short-term holders are panic selling, leverage is unwinding, and retail demand has collapsed. The Bybit hack just made things worse. And now you might be asking, is this the kickoff of the full-blown bear market? And the response to this question I have is, I don't know. But something I do know, and something I can focus my analysis on, are data and indicators. And a lot of them show that similar type of situations actually happened before massive reversals. The market is flashing the key bottom signals right now. Most traders are just too emotional at this stage in order to see them. Today I'm going to break down what's really happening behind the scene and what smart money is doing. And whether you should be preparing for more downside or actually start positioning right here and maybe start positioning quite aggressively. The biggest mistakes in crypto happen right here, right now. The causes for the most regrets that you might have after this cycle are usually being made right now. Let's make sure you won't craft one. Do me a favor, hit that like button and let's get into today's video. Centralized exchanges loan liquidations in the last 24 hours. Bybit official whips up a quick $423 million profit in one day. Don't feel sorry for them. Banned Bybit comments. This is the CEO of Bybit. This is at the entire global crypto market expense. 1.5 billion is nothing for these offshore enterprises that prey on any crypto bullishness. Total centralized exchange profits on loan liquidation is 1 billion in 24 hours. These guys essentially trying to say that Bybit farmed all of the liquidations since the recent drop, which is not exactly the way. It's not how exchanges work in the first place. But this piece of information is very, very interesting. The current market price action is also very, very interesting. It's almost like they decided to pay out the hack, the debts that they have, on the expense of us, on the expense of market participants. And there are some things actually confirming this theory out there. Intel. Bybit started repaying borrowed Ethereum from institutions after 570 million in long positions were liquidated on their exchange in the past 24 hours. This is just something I reposted and something I shared. Who paid for 1.4 billion hack? Correct, you, which means that we actually paid for it. Binance has been selling large amount of Solana in the last few hours. It's very interesting that this type of news in terms of Binance selling and other exchanges selling, they never came out before. They specifically come out on this type of sentiment. And obviously I don't know what's going to happen next in terms of this market, right? But if we would actually be seeing a reversal in the upcoming 30 to 45 days, this just would be crazy manipulation. It's very interesting that under the previous administration in the US and with CZ being in jail, they were never doing things like this, right? It would be very, very interesting to see if we're actually going to have our reversal in a quite short period of time. If you don't believe in alt season, look at this. Now tell me with a straight face that it's not happening. Altcoin season 2021, altcoin season 2025. I know you're probably tired of hearing about all these alt season calls, and we will have some information on this. We will have some projections in terms of BTC dominance going to 66%, it's going to 73%. We will talk about this. The similarities between the chart of the price action 2021 and currently, the issue that I'm obviously seeing is that we're kind of right here at this stage, and this huge week down, this is still something that we might essentially be experiencing right here. So probably in terms of the price action, this would translate to 75,000 Bitcoin, and a bunch of alts doing way worse from these levels, unfortunately. We can talk about the charts, we can talk about the sentiment, but what's important to check out is data. What data actually shows us about the current price action? What does data tell us? Right now, we will be doing exactly that. This is the chart that shows Bitcoin sell-side risk ratio. If the chart is closer to the blue line right here, it's a high risk that a longer-term Bitcoin holders will actually be selling their asset. Right now, we can see that the chart is at the bottom, right as it were at the bottom during September of 2024. Nothing was happening in this market, and before the kickoff of mini alt season and before the kickoff of a larger bull market out there, in the end of 2023. We are exactly in the similar situation right now. This is just one of the metrics. Let's check the others. Maybe only this one is kind of bullish, but others are bearish, right? Let's check them out. Next thing on the list is 30-day change in the estimated leverage ratio for Bitcoin futures. It's not specifically about altcoins. This one is about Bitcoin, but it definitely shows the general sentiment that is present in the marketplace. As we can see, when we're seeing these large blue lines, it means that the leverage present is high and people are actively trading out there, and usually it coincides with the price action on the chart of BTC. When we are in the red, it essentially means that leverage is going down, right? And right now we are in relatively calm area for BTC out there, and we can see through all the red marks, red zones out there, the price action for BTC was quite calm and nothing much was happening. And it's definitely a very, very nice sign of the marketplace, because oftentimes, if obviously the trend did not change, right, when something becomes less saturated from the time when it was oversaturated, because recently I would say a lot of people, they were definitely jumping on leverage just because of the fact that it's very, very hard to make profits on these alts just holding spot, only obviously if you're holding in nice size, right? Recently, a lot of people essentially jumped on leverage, and after giant liquidation event on the start of February and quite big liquidation event pretty much today, I do believe that the situation will be quite different, and we would essentially have slightly less people present on leverage, which is definitely a nice point of time to start building a longer term low leverage position for your altcoin assets out there. But we will discuss this. I will also try to respond to the question whether or not you should be buying currently, or you should actually be selling right now, or maybe you should just quit the market. It's a whole scam. We're going to the bear market and nothing is happening moving further. Next thing in terms of data points on the list is reduced interest for BTC. We can see following this chart that we're essentially dropping in the active supply for BTC, and the chart essentially indicates that short-term holders at this stage, they're actually selling out of their asset, and there is not enough of interest on the market at this stage for smart money and big holders to essentially enter the asset, which might mean that we are either going to consolidate for some time or either drop lower until essentially smart money will find its interest in BTC once again and start to bid. A very interesting metric, which is quite bearish at this stage. And people on the market actually said at this stage a lot that one of the reasons for this drop was the fact that nothing was happening recently in terms of the volume on the market, which means that market pretty much just did not have any new buyers, which means that it just was overheated, so it definitely needed a dip. And pretty much all the current market participants, they were either taking profits or they were waiting for the prices of the assets to come down to find them nice, attractive to buy. This one is the chart of the retail investor demand. It essentially shows how interesting is the asset for retail buyers out there, essentially small holders, and how interested they are in buying the asset. It's very, very interesting that we should definitely coincide and check out what was happening before in terms of the price of BTC and in terms of the demand. We can see the last time demand dropped heavily was in August. Time before was actually somewhere in the January dip, and January dip was very, very, very bullish in the start of 2024. And right before this, this dip actually happened in the middle of 2021, so exactly in the summer. Right now, we had this dip somewhere at the start of the year, right? Right now we rebounded from this dip, but this one is also not very bullish, I would say, because before the price actually started to do something after it had this dip, we had to wait for about 3 months essentially. So the dip happened somewhere in August, probably end of July, right? Which was the bottom 100%, and people that were buying then at least on spot, because after that dip we definitely had a new low which was created on the most of altcoins. So people highly likely got liquidated right after, but it definitely was the bottom, and a bunch of assets like SUI, for example, they never went lower right after this one. Last but not least, short-term holders panic sold. Short-term holders P&L to the exchanges some 24 hours, and as we can see here, short-term holders actually panic sold, which is quite bullish, which is nice, essentially getting people out of the marketplace. The only issue is that for rebounds, for V-shaped recoveries, it usually should take quite some time. in order for smart money and whales essentially to reaccumulate the asset at these levels. Let's see how it goes, because I do have a feeling that a lot of them would want to start bidding quite soon, maybe slightly lower from these levels. Bitcoin swiped the lows with a mass liquidation event. The current pattern setup reminds us a lot of 2024, where Bitcoin was correcting in a narrow range while grabbing liquidity and temporarily breaking the support zone. As of now, there is no real break of structure yet, which would happen if we revisit mid-high 70Ks again. A lot of people are calling for 70Ks at this stage, at least for certain visit into this zone. But this guy essentially assuring that this might as well confirm the breakdown of structure and the kickoff of the real bear market out there. Here are the similarities that we essentially have seen in 2024 as well in terms of the current price action. A lot of us probably have a question: is this just a liquidity swipe? It's just a handful of liquidations out there, or are we actually in the bear market? So this partially responds to that. Right now it looks like the infamous market maker driven liquidity swipe and not like the beginning of a downtrend. We had another mass liquidation event with a week into the range low, 88 to 90K. Here's our take. Currently, like at the beginning of December and January, lots of longs were liquidated. Majority of near-term liquidity is now above current price levels, which means that these essentially shorts, which means that are for the market makers is quite interesting to swipe them and to go higher. With most indicators being oversold on short and intermediate time frames, and Bitcoin has just swiped previous lows, it's likely we see a short-term bounce from here to mid 90Ks over the next couple of days. Right now it looks like the infamous market maker driven liquidity swipe and not like the beginning of a downtrend. We'll keep you updated. And we can definitely see the same picture present on Bitcoin liquidation heat map on the 24 hours. We can see that pretty much have no long liquidity left at this stage. Like no one is longing currently. Bitcoin longs are pretty much absent at this stage, right? We have a giant wall of short liquidity that kind of ends at around like $96,000, at least short term. So speculation here might be is that once we would tap into this area, 92, 93, they will probably just take the whole thing out there. So they probably just push it to at least $96,000, $97,000 to take all of this liquidity. And interesting that like on the short time frame, this kind of looks like this reversal pattern at this stage, with us essentially setting a third low and then reversing from there. I don't believe into full reversal from here. I still think that we might be dropping right after it. But this is probably something that markets want me to think, right? And this is probably something that people think, because the speculation why I think this drop was this heavy is because a lot of people, they were sitting in longs just waiting for the bounce. Everyone was essentially waiting for the bounce to happen. Bounce did not happen. People just got liquidated, right? And right now people would be waiting for the bounce, but what if this would be the reversal? Obviously, we do have certain metrics on the marketplace that are showing us that the interest is just not there. And the speculation here might be is for bigger players, they would need some time to reaccumulate the assets at the levels as they want to in order to continue the push up, in order to continue the robbery of retail money out there. This one is quite interesting. KSI, who is a UK influencer and rapper, he actually was quite correct recently. And his timeline looks very, very interesting currently. So he's calling for around 73% top for BTC dominance. Then it's time to get into alts. It's a very, very interesting speculation. I've been watching a video from Benjamin Cohen today as well, where he was sharing on 66% BTC dominance and 73% top for BTC dominance is just insane. It's pretty much going to coincide with something that we've seen in the last cycle, right? It's exactly going to be this top right here, 73%. And if you would check out the chart that Benjamin Cohen is essentially sharing himself, which is a very, very interesting one. I was sharing this chart yesterday too in my video. He's essentially sharing that alts pairs, they should come back to this level as in previous cycles. And you can see, this was the alt season of 2017. This was the alt season of 2021. Before they started, we got huge drops to these levels in both of these cases. So the speculation here might be is that right now we should actually also be seeing this drop, which is 30% on the total 3 market cap. And you have to understand, like, this is the ratio into Bitcoin. So it just means that alts drop further and BTC becomes stronger, which means that essentially BTC is taking out liquidity out of altcoins, because some people in the marketplace, they will be selling out of the alts and buying into BTC. And it also essentially shows a stable coin supply as well. So some people will just be selling into stable coins. So I would say if something like this is happening following the prices of altcoins, I don't think that a lot of pain will actually come. I don't think a lot of liquidity actually is required to push this specific chart. You have to understand this specific chart to these levels. Whether or not we will be seeing this, market participants, they're definitely becoming better and better with each and every cycle. And it's probably going to be like too obvious. If I would be manipulating these markets myself, I won't be touching this level, because it would be just too obvious. At the same time, who is like seriously saying currently, except Benjamin Cohen, that we should be reaching this level? No one is saying that, and no one is essentially planning for this at this stage. KSI, there is so much more pain coming. You lot are not ready. He shared this yesterday before the dump, which is very, very interesting. Almost there. Ethereum around 0.03, then right back down again. Crypto community is cooked. My financial advisors were right low. Yeah, it's very interesting that he essentially received some proper financial advice, most likely, that he shared here. And thus far, he's definitely right. Let's see, because again, Benjamin Cohen is calling for 66% up for BTC dominance, which is somewhere right here. I'm just thinking my lane here. I'm just thinking that we should be receiving, we should be essentially just replaying the BTC dominance price action as it was in the previous cycle before the alt season, right? What was happening here is that before we have finally seen the final drop, we had this week, right? Which is something that we arguably haven't currently. It's definitely painful because it's definitely pushing the price of BTC dominance. The chart does not look 100% the same, right? But I'm just essentially planning on this thing. Despite this, I'm actually staying on very, very low leverage in my alts at this stage, so I tend to think I'm quite safe currently. The question you might have, Stan, how was the sentiment in the previous cycle? What actually was happening in 2021 before the start of the alt season? Maybe people were bearish, or maybe people were bullish, because one of the issues currently, and one of the things of why people do not believe in alt season at this stage, and I'm hearing these takes everywhere, like not all of the alts are going to go up, it's going to be specific sectors. I'm still not buying this, because through real drop of BTC dominance, the only real drop of BTC dominance that we have seen recently, which happened in November and December, all alts went up. Even garbage went up 2 to 2.5x from the price action point of view of the market, right? But the question that people have currently is that everyone seems to be bullish on alt season. Everyone seems to be calling alt season. So that's why it's not happening, because all of these influencers, they're still talking about it. It's crazy. It's not happening at this stage. Let's check out the sentiment that was happening and present in 2021. The funny thing is, I was really happy to see this bloody dump. It's healthy during the bull market. On the way, there are correction from 20 to 30% or even more. Great time to buy the dip. Something very, very positive. You won't find a lot of these posts currently, but some people are definitely quite cheerful and happy that this dip happened. Whole market smells like 2018 PTSD, which is essentially the year of the bear market. So in our current conditions, it would be 2022. Get some therapy, you bunch of pussies. And essentially a bunch of alts suggested to buy. Ethereum, ZIL, Link. Ethereum at that stage actually probably were at around $1,000 already. So it was not that great. It's almost like buying Solana currently, most likely. Yeah, so we can check the price of Ethereum at the time of this post. The price of Ethereum was $1.8 thousand. So it only did like 2.5x till the exact top of the cycle at the time of this guy essentially posting this thing. Blah blah blah, all season is over, blah blah blah, rug pull, blah 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 blah. Okay, shut up and send Cream to $800 next. I'm not even sure what Cream is, but this was the sentiment. Interesting. Atom at 4.5 billion market cap is like buying your favorite DeFi gem and sub 10 million market cap. That's how undervalued it is. February 15 as well. Let's check out Atom at February 15 of 2025. What was the price of it? February 15, yeah, it pumped already. 21 bucks, and till the top it only reached 2x. And it definitely seen a great dip from there. Very, very interesting. And it was only 50% till the local pump right here. while I expect more alt BTC pumps to happen across the board very soon, I also look at the real alt season to be months away, maybe end of this year. Interesting. This is exactly something that happened out there. A lot of people actually saying currently, and they're kind of capitulating in all of this idea of the alt season. They're saying that like, I'm not seeing any catalysts at this stage. Nothing will be happening in the summer as usually. And right now, nothing will be happening as well. We will just be chopping. At the same time, they were calling for $80,000, and we're already at $80,000, right? At the time of me recording this video, we had $88,000 Bitcoin, which means that markets, they definitely move quick at this stage. And we still have all this fear above us regarding stock markets just dumping or just seeing local correction out there. Interesting. It's like crypto at this stage is front running the dump on the stock market, but I would say just the explanation. The real thing is that people were bullish, they were longing. The market makers, the market manipulators have seen a bunch of longs and they just decided to take all of this money. That's it. If you are new to crypto markets, we are just experiencing turbulence. Do not panic, please remain seated. Normal trajectory will resume, which was also at February 14th. So this one is a bit late because it was already during the time of the pump, but I have found something that is even more recent, which is actually very interesting to check out. I can't believe they're letting us buy alts this cheap, and this guy was 100% right because Sol went up to do 150x from these levels. In 2017, the market cap of crypto top was 840 billion. Today, the market cap is 882 billion. January 3rd, it's quite similar to the current situation because it was like right after the dump, I would say. The alts have something to move. Full sudden coming for all alts, January 4th. And like all of these guys actually were right. It's very interesting. And these are not just tweets that I focused on like specifically. I found them randomly, right? Tap off the one key resistance for Ethereum. Lots of alts looking strong right here. Look at Ethereum volume. It's fucking on. Valhalla awaits. Interesting. Send my alts back, please. January 4th as well. Long alts. BTC dominant strong rejection from the upper line, just in time to spark the alts. Let's go. I've said this before, if you're not buying alts right now, you're making a mistake. It's interesting that most of these people, they actually were correct, and they were right. If we would compare what was happening in 2021 in January, well, it was quite obvious from one point of view because we have seen the pump of Ethereum since the bottoms already at like 8x's, right? So it's kind of like screaming that like memes on Sol, you should be buying them currently, right? And right after they were saying these things, after like a couple of weeks, they experienced a huge dip on the marketplace when Ethereum went down from 2K till $1,200. So to provide you with the response to the main question, whether or not you should be positioning yourself and what I'm doing currently, I pretty much just added some margin to my longs. I entered some longs as I think at the bottoms currently they are low leverage, and I would probably just be setting stop losses at the break even just to make sure I won't be losing money because this is definitely an attempt to catch the knife, or I will just keep them with high margin and low leverage and just keep adding into them once we would be going lower, if we are going to go lower. We have some things like bearish moon on Thursday, things like that. I do think that it might actually make sense in the current situation to at least wait for the couple of days. But you have to understand that everyone is waiting, and this is definitely a time of fear right now because people are not sure if the structure is broken and if the bull market is over. I'm not thinking at this stage that the bull market is over. I actually do think that alts are going to outperform, and I actually do think that we're not going to be in the situation where alts are just like only certain sectors are moving. Of course, like there would be a thing when certain sectors are going to outdo other ones that are present in the marketplace, but I expect that through the real BTC dominance drop, would essentially be seeing the increase in the market caps of most of the altcoins out there. And the narrative, the sentiments, the bearish stuff, yeah, it's quite similar to the previous cycles. If we would focus on the bearish sentiment around that time, which is a very, very famous screenshot that was also public and present on X that a lot of people were discussing. Hope you survived the drop and good things are coming. We have to face a bit of fear, a bit of pain before good things are going to come. It's interesting that like one of the first coins that seem to be recovering, coming back, are actually AI agents on Solana and AI projects. Interesting. Thank you very much for watching this one. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Stay healthy and rich. Bye-bye.